The following podcast will contain spoilers for all aired episodes in HBO's Game of Thrones and all published books in George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series.
In Atlanta, we have the Big Chicken, which is the largest man-made chicken with that grill working.
Also satanic.
That's the bumper.
Welcome to the Vassals of Kingsgrave DragonCast edition. We are back this week to review the 9th episode of Game of Thrones Season 6, Battle of the Bastards, directed by Michal Sapochnik, written by David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. I think I got that right. Hopefully I did. My name is Zach, also known as Alias on the forums, and joining me for this review we have...
This is Adam, drownedsnow on the forums.
This is Casey, Blue-Eyed Queen on the forums.
This is Small Paul, SerDinnerRoll on the forums.
This is Michal, inkasrain on the forums.
This is Jeff14 on the forums.
This is Katie, LadyGriffin on the forums.
And leading the Knights of the Vale, bringing up the rear, it's Varley on the forums.
Yep, and that is our crew for the 9th episode of Game of Thrones Season 6. A big one for sure, as the 9th episodes tend to be, and there was a lot that happened, and I'm very curious to see what you guys thought about it all. So, Adam, how many lemon cakes would you give Battle of the Bastards?
I don't know, I think I'm going to abstain from actually giving a number rating. The magical arrow thing, basically, it just brought me right out of the episode, and then some of the really bad CG in the battle was kind of weird. But I mean, overall, it was okay, I guess. I don't know.
I gave it on the forums, I gave it a 5 out of 5 mounds of dead bodies. I was a little bit torn about this episode. I thought that the episode itself was very well done. I thought that for once D&D did a pretty good job, minus a couple of more so nitpicky things. But I was kind of taken aback by this episode just because of how horrific a lot of the stuff was. I mean, like the battle scenes, I was a little grossed out. I had to look away sometimes, and I might be a baby, I don't know. But I don't see myself
Casey,
watching.
I think we've established that you are, in fact, a baby.
You're very clear on this point.
Totally, Casey.
Did you just miss the last, 9 weeks of podcasting and making fun of you?
Oh, you're the worst, Michal. But yeah, I don't, while it was very well done, I don't see myself watching it again anytime soon just because of how tough some of those scenes were.
Yeah,
yes, I'm a baby. I know, I'm very aware.
Are you a baby, Small Paul? What did you think?
I'm the biggest babby. Basically, I gave it a 4.75 because always room for improvement, and I'll never give a 5 out of 5 to D&D ever.
Damn.
It's a personal thing at this point.
So you're just rating on a 4-point scale?
Essentially, yeah. Yeah, aside from the real nitpicky things, I thought this was a great episode. The battle scenes, I think I would describe as beautifully chaotic. I don't know why, but it just seemed to flow together I just thought it was really neat. And we got to see the last of D&D's Prince Charming, a.k.a. Ramsay. So, yeah.
Yeah. I too thought it was pretty neat. Michal, what did you think?
I really enjoyed it while I was watching it, which is weird to say given my history. But yeah, I mean, I did definitely read a lot of criticism of the episode, and I definitely agree with a lot of it, and I'm sure I'll reiterate a lot of it soon. But in the moment while I was watching it, I was just like, I don't know, it's a good episode. It's a good episode. What am I gonna do? It's like I
can't hate it. I can't. I'm trying so hard to hate it.
It was annoying, but yeah, I mean, I definitely felt sick to my stomach at a lot of points, but I guess it wasn't anything I didn't expect, so or couldn't have predicted kind of in the moment. So yeah, that was cool. And you know what? They actually got big points for me for the Asha Dany scene. That definitely boosted it.
Did you give it a number anywhere in there?
No, I didn't.
I didn't really like it. I'm going to give it a 3. I thought they ruined Jon's character by making him seem like a dumbass. And then they also made Sansa really spiteful and arrogant and heady for not telling Jon about the Vale. And I would have said that she didn't know they were coming, except for the fact that when they came, she was with Littlefinger on the hill watching smugly as the Northerners who sworn loyalty to her died.
It's really hard for me to grade this one. I thought visually it was probably maybe the best Game of Thrones has ever looked. Even the stuff that usually looks really good, like the dragons, I thought the sense of weight and scale was really masterfully done CGI, and Dany even looked good writing them. I couldn't really see the seams of where her and the model connected, and the battle was shot really phenomenally. As for the writing itself, I hated everything about the Winterfell plot. Just, it's an idiot plot in that it could have been avoided with a simple conversation between Jon and Sansa and her character motivations, which this entire thing hinges on. I don't understand. I have no idea what her motivations for not telling Jon are, and for that I just could not get emotionally invested in the fight. And I really hate that they've decided to write her as a nag, because that is what she is. When she's talking with Jon, she was a nag, and I don't say that to blame Sansa. I say it like, I don't understand why they've made this choice to manufacture conflict between her and Jon. It just feels really weak. It feels like stalling, for lack of them to really talk about anything else. So yeah, it was really hard for me to gauge my feelings for it. On the one hand, it was a beautifully shot episode, but writing-wise, I thought it was really, 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 really poor. Maybe like one of my least favorite episodes of the whole show.
Matt, you want to round us out?
Sure. I give this a 4 out of 5 on the forums. Enjoyed it. As far as visually, at some points it was like very amazing, and then some points the CGI just like completely shit out, and it was like I was very aware that it was CGI. As far as writing, I tend to go with Katie a little more. I thought it was pretty fucking weak. And for a Father's Day episode, we had the Meereen, the 3 kids of shit fathers, like, you know, teaming up to go conquer Westeros or whatever. I don't even understand what's going on over there. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, it was a really cool battle, and we'll get into the nitpicks, I guess, soon.
Yeah, as for me, I have to give it a 5 out of 5 myself, mainly for the positive aspects that you highlighted, Katie. The excellent cinematography, what I felt was a really good mix of practical effects and CGI. I didn't really see any of the scenes that you point out, Matt, and I just thought it all came together really well. Lots of really creative shots. The music was good, and also the points where they chose not to use music were really cool. And I thought just the portrayal of like you said, Small Paul, the chaos of it was really well done, and I just enjoyed that so much that I'll give it a 5. And you know, there are writing concerns in the whole plot. There is a lot of issues with it, and I think that I just don't really want to pin that on this episode, because it was obviously being built up in past episodes, and I just wanted to enjoy the actual just play out of things, even if all of that build up didn't necessarily live up to it. And I think, you know, I constructed a reason in my head why the characters did what they did, even if it didn't seem to make sense. And maybe I shouldn't need to do that, but I justified it, so it didn't bother me as much. But yeah. That's that. Let's go ahead and jump into the review proper, starting in Meereen before we get to Winterfell, where Dany and Tyrion discuss strategy in the Great Pyramid. Dany says she intends to absolutely annihilate the Masters and burn the cities to the ground. Tyrion suggests a more moderate approach, reminding her of a similar plan by Aerys to burn King's Landing to ashes. This can't possibly be foreshadowing anything. Dany's squad meets with the Masters when the Masters give their brutal terms. Dany tells them that they will be the ones that will surrender today. Drogon arrives and takes flight with Dany. Viserion and Rhaegal break free of the catacombs and join them in the sky. They begin burning the artillery ships as the Masters watch in horror. In the meantime, Daario arrives with the Dothraki and they clear the city of Harpies. Tyrion tells the Masters that Dany wants one of them dead, and they offer Yezin, who falls to his knees. Grey Worm steps forward and slashes the necks of the 2 standing Masters, what I felt was probably the smoothest kill of the episode. And Tyrion steps up to tell Yezin to spread the word of what happened today. So yeah, this pretty sweet part with some dragons doing dragon stuff was pretty cool. What did you guys think?
I know I've already complimented this earlier, but I know we've talked a little bit about how we're getting sick of Dany fucking shit up and her burning stuff with her dragons, but as far as, like, if I had to rank dragon scenes in the show, this was pretty damn thrilling, yeah. I thought, visually.
I can't
her
think
flying
of a better
amidst
one.
the ships.
I can't think of anyone this good.
Maybe
when
the
she
one
got the
in
Unsullied.
Yeah, when she got the Unsullied, that's the one that maybe
I don't know.
I thought it was really incredible, and with CGI, it's so hard to get a sense of actual weight and just physicality with a model like that, and it felt very real in a way that it hasn't before. I thought it was excellent.
So her actually mounting the dragon is what took me out of this when I was saying like really shitty CGI. Like that was like my one gripe where it just looked awful for that 1 second, and then like, you know, when she's riding on top of him like burning the ship, it looked great.
This whole sequence is great, right? But it's also really confusing because she teleports down to a meeting with these guys who I guess no one saw her dragon at night, even though it seemed like it was kind of easy to see in the night sky. And they show up just saying, well, we're in control, we're doing what we want. And then she's off and burns like one ship, two ships. It's hard to tell how much. And then now the fleet is hers. I'm kind of confused as to how that
Well, I
works.
doubt they're going to risk pissing her off even more. If she's willing to, like, let them live in exchange for the ships, at least, like, the sailors on said ships.
How come, like, it's going to take a while before he gets back and kind of relays that? Wouldn't you expect half the ships to just book it? And then in the next scene, well, I guess Yara's fleet is there, so, I mean, did
Maybe
they come into
blockaded
conflict?
them?
Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, maybe they blocked the bay.
Even though I thought the dragons were awesome, I kind of thought it was funny how powerful the flamethrower was.
Well, I don't know. I thought it was.
There's like a
perfectly
laser
reasonable.
beam.
If anything, I think they should be more powerful. I mean, these are wooden ships, and it took like a couple dragons to burn it, and it took a bit. And dragon fire is supposed to burn pretty hot, right?
But it
So-
seemed like it broke the ship instead of burned the ship. I know that sounds... It's really stupid and a tiny nitpick. I just thought it was funny, like the force behind the fire.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool. But
It did
Oh, no,
look
it
really
was
cool.
awesome.
Yeah. I thought
Yeah.
the destructive force of the dragons was reasonable, given what they are.
yeah, I get what he's saying, though.
I feel like I would have enjoyed this scene a little bit better if we didn't get that scene a couple episodes ago where she flew in with Drogon to show the Dothraki that she had a dragon and that she gave that
Yeah.
same speech. But I don't want to take away from the scene because it was so good. I mean, this is why I rated the episode so high. I thought that, like, if alone, this was good. And it was really awesome to see the dragons win.
How about the dragon jailbreak? Like, what was the deal there?
I know.
Oh, that was awkward. Yeah.
Drogon
It
summoned
was just like,
them.
yeah, Drogon was just screeching, and they're like, we could have broken out the whole time.
I don't know. I guess I'm always a little bit unmoved by Dany kicking ass, just because like we've seen it so many times. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the third Dany kicking ass scene we've had this season.
It's gratuitous at this point.
Yeah, and it's like I get it. That's I'm glad that she kicks ass, but like I do understand. But I did think that Drogon looked really cool, and they didn't solve the problem of her like getting on the dragon CGI wise, but flying on it looked a lot better.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, for sure.
I liked the kind of the visual comparison, also just a little thing of seeing how much different Viserion and Rhaegal looked compared to Drogon.
Right.
You mean green and gold, like they're
Yes.
supposed to look?
I was so
Right.
excited that there were actual different colors and not just dark.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was better. Speaking about just the Dany plot at large, I do agree that one scene, the scene with her with Drogon showing up and impressing the Dothraki, really mars it. But I think for the most part, for me, that Dany's storyline was the highlight of the season for me. I mean, maybe I buy into the kicking ass thing more than other people, but yeah, if not for that one scene, I thought it was basically what I want from Dany, and this was a great cap to it.
Well, that's because you read A Dance with Dragons, and where she does fuck all. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they relegated
I'll
that
take
role to
this to
Tyrion this
nothing.
season. The fuck all role.
So is anybody else like kind of getting nervous with Dany, like being a ruler and she's just gonna fuck shit up and
Yeah.
after that?
I'm not too nervous right now because she and Tyrion and Yara all had that big, our fathers were terrible people, they sucked, we're not going to be like them. But,
And Tyrion
I mean,
does like expressly say we need to be more moderate about our approach here. He clearly lays it out. Don't be Aerys. Don't be that.
Despite all that, though, one of my favorite parts of this scene was Dany's stink face to Tyrion when he was talking. I was just like, yeah, she's not buying any of this shit.
I have to give some props to Emilia Clarke, because it used to feel like she didn't actually feel like she had any authority when she was acting, but now I think she's kind of found a good center place where it actually feels like, yeah, I would be intimidated by her if she was giving me that face. Whereas in previous seasons, it was like, oh, come on, you're not... Try harder, please.
She's grown.
She's killed enough people.
One last point. Was anybody else kind of nervous with the Dothraki about them just killing the Harpies? I feel like there would be a lot of civilian casualties when they go running through the streets of Meereen.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm like, are they just going to sack the city? Because this is kind of what Dothraki do.
Well, no, because their bloodlust was satiated by the dozen harpies that they killed that were outside the gates killing people for whatever reason that they had.
Yep.
The Grey Worm was badass.
Small folk.
Well said, Katie.
Small folk don't matter.
Who are they anyway?
Shellfish?
So next scene, we have Dany and Tyrion meeting with Yara and Theon after the battle. They offer their 100 ships if Dany will help them overthrow Euron and retake the Iron Islands. Tyrion is wary of Theon after what he has heard about him, but Theon says he did not kill the Stark boys, and Yara assures Tyrion that he has paid for his crimes. Dany wonders why she shouldn't just take Euron's offer when he arrives, and Yara explains that his offer comes with marriage while hers doesn't necessarily, but she's up for anything Bud Light style. Dany says she will help them if the Ironborn agree to stop all the reaving and raping. After some brief hesitation, Yara agrees. And this scene. I don't know why Dany banned roving. What's wrong with roving? Roving is fine.
She wanted to go for the alliteration,
Yeah, I
and she
know.
couldn't figure out.
Roving is okay.
But I did like Yara going like, "It's our culture," and Danny's like, "Well, it's my kingdom." So like, which one?
That's what I never got about the Iron Islands. Like, how could it be? Like, how could she be an experienced like Reaver when that shit's outlawed and they're all like the Seven Kingdoms? Like, I don't understand. I never got that.
Whenever the Ironborn do something, the Westerosi just go, "Oh, it's just their cultural norms. They're just assholes. We'll just rebuild. It's fine."
Right.
We're very culturally sensitive here in Westeros.
Except in the Greyjoy Rebellion, when they literally go there and just destroy so much.
The 8 other rebellions that they would incite.
Or yeah, we'll let you take out a few small folk, but don't go any higher than that.
Don't try calling yourself king. I mean, then we gotta do something about that.
And when you
How
do,
many-
don't just pick driftwood as your crown. Jeez.
Yeah, but they all bond over their parental issues, mostly their daddy issues. It's like the
We've all
alliance
got
of daddy
that.
issues.
Indeed.
This seemed like sort of past the Bechdel test in points.
The what?
The Bechdel test, where
Did it?
2 women can have a conversation in a TV show that doesn't involve a man,
Oh,
even though it involved Euron and.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
at
for like
point.
5
It was-
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah,
This is Game of Thrones, so it only has to like pass half the criteria.
yeah. Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was mostly like about taking over a country. So.
Yeah, 2 women were actually treating each other like equals while their tops were still on.
And they had something to talk about. Like, I
Yeah.
think that was almost what I appreciated the most about it, that they were having a real conversation about just wonderful subtext aside. They were both like, okay, so we're queens, and how do we conquer our next kingdom?
Yeah.
And I was
Right.
just like, I appreciate
And it was
that.
interesting how reasonable it was, kind of like
Which
well, I would request that you let me do my own thing, and if not, that's okay too. And
well, it makes me kind of suspicious about Yara because she put out like reaving is the way of life for the Iron Islands, and
then
Dany's like,
just dropped
well,
it.
don't. And then Yara's like, okay,
Yeah.
fine. They retake Westeros. Yara's going to be figuring out ways to start to get around Dany's rules. The king has like very little like actual power compared to like the
What?
lords.
oh, like over the regions, you mean?
Yeah, it seems
Sort of.
usually the regions are more just internally governed, and then they just say, "Oh yeah, sure, you're the king."
As long as they send the crown their taxes,
Yeah, but
everything's
guys, Dany's gonna break the wheels.
good. Oh boy.
But that's also
as she makes like
Oh, so bad.
deals with a great
She's
It's
powerful
just awful.
house.
You find her in the workshop and she's making a square wheel and she's like, I've broken it. That's not right, Danny. That's not how it works.
90-degree angles, that's how you break the wheel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also
Oh.
probably just because Robert didn't give a shit about the kingdom. I think other kings like actually ruled a little bit more.
Yeah, if you went around on a progress and checked what was up at all, that would probably help.
But it's also different now because the Targaryens hadn't had dragons for obviously a long time, and that changes the dynamic of ruling drastically.
Exactly.
You got the nuclear option.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that again, like the show seems to make it out like they reave more than would be appropriate, but I think that the reaving was just sort of people kind of go out and harass some farmers and
And we had
it's
Quellon.
wildlings.
We had Quellon before, who was actually a pretty chill dude for a Greyjoy. So
What does Aaron say? He's like, but from the sacks of Quelon came.
Quelon's
The
loins.
Loins.
The loin.
Whatever. The aching loins
That's
of Quelon.
That's
How
how it
many
always.
times do we have to say that?
That's how it always goes
Moist.
with the
Theon
Ironborn.
has no loins.
There's always one really strong Ironborn, and then it's followed by Chilliwan. And they never progress or do anything, basically.
I was a little confused though, because Yara's view of the Ironborn has kind of gone back and forth on whether or not she's like bloodthirsty and like but like she gave a very similar speech in the Kingsmoot to and she's indicated before that she's not pro senseless violence and sees the folly of the Ironborn ways.
I think she was against senseless violence, but I think she would see more like reaving as like a necessary means for her people.
Keep the people happy.
I think she
Also-
just wanted roving, honestly. She wanted to
I'd be a
Also-
wild rover.
As far as Yara's character development goes, how difficult is it to be a woman potentially ruling a society that doesn't accept women, but you still want to be accepted by the culture, and so you have that kind of back and forth, like, well, I really want to go along with this, but they hate me. So how do you? I don't know. I feel like her wishy-washiness kind of.
I feel like she would want to be able to get rid of reaving on her own schedule instead of just like, well, the new queen says no more, and maybe that's kind of the idea.
Yeah. But I trust her for now, because honestly, I highly, highly doubt that the issues of Daenerys' reign are actually going to be covered by the show. The show's going to.
Danny's gonna live that long.
Yeah,
So-
I mean that's post Game of Thrones.
Anybody else want to bet that it took Yara and Theon 2 episodes to get here, but it'll take Danny a whole season to get to Westeros next season?
Middle of next
So
season.
many more
God.
people.
Yeah.
I don't think the whole season.
I think by episode 4.
I hope at the very least she does like a flyover or something and then comes back and is like, why are you guys taking so long? I can fly there like in a day.
No, I actually see that. I feel like that's going to happen. I feel like they're going to set out very grandly next week with her ships and blah, blah, blah. Even though I'm not sure what's going to happen to Euron, because I feel like he could either be like, oh, Ramsay's dead, here's the new Ramsay. Or it could be like, oh, fooled you, he's dead. Euron's dead.
What happens to Meereen?
Fuck
Who
it.
cares?
She's left people in charge.
At this point, I don't give a damn anymore.
No, I know I don't care either, but there has to be some resolution.
They leave it with Grey Worm and Miss Andy.
I think that's what they're gonna do, and that's terrible.
They should come, right?
That is a poor idea.
It is terrible.
But their heirs will. Oh.
I think they're in a better position than they were because they've destroyed the Masters, excuse me. So it's not quite the same as leaving Astapor and Yunkai behind. But
Yeah, instead this time
Those dragons can come back.
they're
at any
tearing
time.
down a tyrannical government and then just leaving them to their own devices. I'm pretty sure that'll work out.
Yeah. No, I think what's her name? Kinvara will like just make it into a fundamentalist state. Should work out fine. They'll destroy Harpy.
I mean, it would be kind of stupid if Kinvara didn't come with her, right? They just drop that plot point immediately. All right, well, do we have anything else to say on Meereen? Are we saying fuck it to Meereen? You're done.
Fuck it to Meereen.
Fuck Meereen.
I think they should recast Dario again next season with Yara. Just
Wait
like
for Dario?
Yara wearing a mustache.
she's Yario, basically.
Yario.
It's a him, Yario.
Oh my.
Why
She
not?
can have them both. He can be the butt boy. I almost said he's gonna be the
Excuse
butt
me?
boy, but no, he can be the what's the word I'm looking for?
The bottom?
Boy
I really
toy.
don't know what you mean here, Katie.
What are you saying, Katie?
I don't know what's going on.
No,
He
he
can
can
be
be the
the
boy
gimp.
toy, and
Yeah,
and Yara
she
can be
have
her
both
solid.
at the same time.
She's a
A
queen.
little bit from column A, a little bit from column B.
No harm in that.
Fair enough.
Meanwhile, Tyrion's like, what the fuck? I'm sitting here right here.
You'll get a dragon, don't worry.
And then Jorah comes back and
A small
like,
one.
has cured Grayscale and is like, oh, I'm gonna get to marry Dany. And she's in bed with 3 other people.
I feel
She's
like
just like, you
Jorah's
can join
gone.
in too.
That would be
I think
perfect.
Dario would be all for
Jorah's
that.
not gone. He might be gone for this season, but he's not gone. He's
Yeah,
too-
I don't think we're gonna see him like in the finale. I mean, I could be wrong. One thing I will say
No,
is that it would be nice if she shows up and she's on the way to Westeros at the end of the season, And next season she could show up at Dragonstone, since that seems mostly abandoned. It would be kind of a nice parallel if she stays, she could stay there for however many episodes she needs to, right?
A second Aegon.
Yeah.
Well,
no, she's gonna show up to like King's Landing, take it over. Dorne's gonna show up and be like, "No weak men will ever rule the Seven Kingdoms." Shit.
I think the last scene's going to be Gendry rowing up, just being like, hey.
I'm still here for that.
Everyone's dead, and he's just rowing out like, "Fuck this."
That's after the credits.
I'm out of here.
I had an epiphany the other day. We're gonna be speculating on where Gendry is forever. We're just gonna be like, where is he?
It gives us something to do. We're probably never going to find out what happens to him.
I still think he's showing up in episode 10. That's how deluded I still am. I still think he's going to show up.
No.
Aw, Zach, that's so cute.
I believe in Gendry.
It's so cute.
The faith of a child.
Yeah.
The season's almost over. They can't hurt you after next week.
So, okay, let's finish with this episode, but can we talk about like how much shit that they have to plug into next week to get
we'll finish with
somewhat closure?
I mean, we're through 2 scenes.
But there's only one location left. How long could it be? All right, let's go to Winterfell. The other piece of this episode, the other half. No, it's a little bit more than that. Where we begin with Jon's squad and Ramsay's squad meeting up to discuss terms. Ramsay offers surrender terms and shows off Shaggy Dog's not at all papier-mâché head. Sansa refuses his terms and promises Ramsay's death, riding off on her own. Jon says that they should settle it one-on-one, and Ramsay refuses to risk it against the greatest swordsman in the north. Without coming to terms, they determine to battle when morning comes.
I was surprised that nobody attacked at night, since they were like, cool, we're going to meet tomorrow? Yeah.
Burn your camp with my 20 good men.
Exactly. Why didn't Ramsay bring...
They probably couldn't afford to film at night, so that's why.
Did anyone think it was really dumb when Jon said, "But will your men fight for you when they know you wouldn't fight for them?"
And then Ramsay said, "This guy's good."
It's supposed to be a zinger, and it makes no sense.
He's like, yes, because they're my men.
And also, no one's going to tell them.
Yeah, the 2 bros that I have behind me are not going to say shit.
Yeah, the Umbers are loyal to the Boltons to the end.
This tactic worked for Grey Worm. He said the exact same thing, and they all ran away. So there is
when did Jon become the greatest swordsman in the North?
Because he took down what's his face, maybe.
Corin Halfhead.
No, but I mean, Ramsay is just being a dick.
No, the guy with the deep scars on his cheeks that was like Ramsay's best buddy that chopped off what's his fuck's hand.
Oh, the
Locke.
Faux.
Locke, yeah. So if he beat Locke, obviously,
Guys, he didn't kill Locke. Hodor killed Locke.
Oh, yeah.
Brandor.
Season 4.
Rest in peace, Hodor.
The fucking legend. He killed the fucking legend, though, so that's clearly proves that he's the greatest swordsman.
Oh, man.
I liked Sansa's line.
Yes.
Which one?
So you'll be dead in the morning?
Oh, you mean her
you're
line
gonna
of,
die
I have
tomorrow,
an army coming
sleep well.
soon?
Yeah, her I know something you don't know.
Yeah, too bad she also knows something that Jon Snow doesn't know.
Because he knows nothing.
I think we should at some point discuss that. But
Let's do that when the Veil Knights
That'll
arrive.
be next, yeah.
We'll do that when the Veil Knights arrive.
I'm just glad we got to see Lyanna Mormont.
Fucking badass still, man. That girl's
like
stealing the fucking show.
He's like burning holes in Ramsay's head.
even though there are probably now no Mormont men left.
All 62.
They really were.
Oh, they said they all survived.
They all survived.
62.
Oh,
You
yeah.
realize they're worth like 10 mainlanders.
Right, yeah.
Of course.
Well, if you guys were wondering why the pile of bodies was so big, it's because every Mormont is worth 20 bodies, so it just...
That was actually one Mormont man. That whole pile.
Wait,
So
so
did-
like Mormont people are just Cronenberg monsters?
Or,
Oh, Jesus.
Akira.
We get another fake wolf's head.
Yeah, we did. Well...
Shaggy Dog lives. Hashtag it.
Sure.
The Umbers were willing to die to cover it up.
It's the Grand Northern Conspiracy, one might say. So,
That was a fake
exactly.
Precon too.
So, after Davos, Jon and Tormund discuss the battle plan, Sansa warns Jon that he is playing into Ramsay's hands. Jon says that they don't have a choice at this point and they must try to save Rickon. Sansa is convinced they will never get the chance. Jon then goes to Melisandre and tells her not to bring him back if he falls. Melisandre says that she will do as the Lord of Light demands. Meanwhile, Davos and Tormund discuss their former kings and their failures. Davos turns down Tormund's offer of sour goat milk and goes walking on his own. He discovers a burned-out pyre and the stag carving he made for Shireen sitting among the wood and ashes.
Oh,
Did you see her
fucking
skull?
Closure.
Brutal.
So
Did he find her
Fucking
skull? I don't
beautiful.
know.
I wasn't sure. I was like typing at the same time.
No. It
No?
was just this. That was a very beautiful shot, though, of him against the red sky and the very
yeah.
discordant violin in the background.
Yeah.
He looked almost a bit like Stannis when they panned away from him. He was wearing the same kind
Oh,
of.
not this again. It's
Everybody
not
looks like
Stannis,
Stannis.
guy.
I don't know. Did you guys all expect this is what he was going to find?
Yeah.
I thought he'd find more of a body, but not the special stag that he carved for her. That was pretty fucking.
Well, I mean, because they
heartbreaking.
showed it in the preview, and then as he was kind of walking up the hill, I realized what was happening. But when he was going to walk off, I thought maybe he was going to run into 20 good men or something. I don't know. I mean, who knows with this show?
I was just like, you naive idiots. How did you not see this coming?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they took this.
Wait a minute, which part?
For him discovering that Shireen was burned, I didn't even
Yeah.
think about it at all.
And
before now.
also that's the only thing that survives Stannis' camp.
It's a very durable stag.
It's fine craftsmanship.
Yeah, it's made out of hardwood.
he's a smuggler.
Withstands.
That lets
You got to respect the sacrifice. You can't be putting him on a garbage pyre, right?
It's fine.
You would think Melisandre would be like, yeah, let's not set up camp here. Let's just set up camp a
little
mile
bit down the road.
But what was her reasoning? Just being yeah, I burned a kid over there. I'm not too happy about this now.
She's
The Lord
still
of
not on
Light!
point.
The Lord
She's
of Light
she's
demands
still
it.
on tilt from all this stuff. So
So,
Full tilt.
I meant
okay,
for,
so
the battle.
her days are numbered.
Oh, Davos
Days
is
are
probably going to
numbered
shank
unless-
her.
like
next
one day,
episode.
like one day,
But I don't know. I feel like something else is going to happen.
like he's gonna forgive her.
Yeah.
They're gonna hug it
or
out.
some bullshit like that. Or
'Cause
not
forgiveness is
Davos
the real
necessarily, but
strength.
John. Like John might be like, no, she's too valuable or something.
But why?
But John was like, do not bring me back. You have no value to me at all.
I hope you
Yeah.
guys are right. I would be very happy if Melisandre died.
Which I mean, I guess could have happened at any point before. If they were gonna kill her now, it could have happened as soon as she revived John. But I don't know.
No, but I mean, at what point does Davos just swallows this as oh yeah, they had to burn Shireen. I'm cool with that.
I mean, Show Davos. I don't even know if Show Davos would go that far.
Unless she turns his whole the true enemy is the
The
darkness.
dead.
Blah blah blah. Yeah. And
He
I'm the
just
only one who can-
fully converts, maybe.
Come on,
Or-
I don't think
Davos.
he'll ever do that though, because maybe Show Davos will, but in the books he has that whole vision with the mother saying oh, you burned me, and that's why he had to act out against her.
Show Davos is an atheist. He doesn't believe in anything.
That's a
Nah,
nihilist, friend.
I think
Right now, he
Yeah.
doesn't.
Doesn't believe in any god. Anyway. Sansa stuff happens here, but I feel like maybe we should just talk about it holistically at the end. Are we cool with that?
I mean, I didn't hate that conversation. I
Hated it. Hated it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. They had no reason to argue. I didn't understand why, other than sheer pettiness. It felt like dialogue that they needed a scene, and so they invented a reason for these two characters to yell at each other. It didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of it
Panic.
felt organic.
They were building toward it, quote unquote. They had this kind of confrontation set up before where Jon was saying, we need to attack now. Sansa was saying, we're not ready. It wasn't the first time it happened, but it was still contrived, and it still came out of nowhere in that case.
I mean, I kind of agree that the writing wasn't great here, but also I feel, how stressed would you be if you're going into a battle and your brother's on the line and all your people are on the line and you could potentially lose this and the odds are against you? I would be pretty stressed out and pick a fight.
I would
No,
be so
I
stressed. I'd tell my brother that I might have 5,000 men to help you out.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't get why they had to make her a nag. Sansa was at the War Council. It's not like she was barred from attending. She could have spoken up. They could have written her to speak
Yeah.
up. Instead, she's like, John, why didn't you ask for my advice? Oh my God, how could
Yeah.
you do that to me?
She's been in camp with them too. She could have given her advice all the time.
and she did before. I mean, it's interesting because back at the wall, she was like, no, here's what we need to do. I know Ramsay, blah blah blah. and suddenly that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I just assumed she was giving advice. She was just hiding the bit about Littlefinger, I don't know.
Oh,
The important part.
it's all her fault. It is all her fault.
I guess I just liked Sansa. What I did like was Sansa being like the logical one and being like, John, he's going to try and make you do XYZ. And John's like, I know. And she's like, no, he's going to make you do XYZ. Why aren't you listening to me? And John not listening.
The only thing I didn't like, and this isn't going too far, but it's just the whole, like, my life has been so much shittier than your life, which kind of true, but at least it's a close second.
I don't think she said that.
I don't think she was talking... They weren't talking about, like, how shitty their life was. They were talking about whether or not they understand Ramsay and how to deal with him.
Yeah.
John's argument was he's been in battles and he knows how to deal with that, but he doesn't understand
And
Ramsay
he was a
personally.
shitty bastard, too, so...
Sansa does. Right, and he was a shitty bastard.
And what kind of caught me was, like, when he brings up Rickon, Sansa's just like, fuck it. And he's like, shouldn't we save him? And she's like, nope.
And this is kind of a prelude to my point about what Sansa did made sense to me, but it's very clear that she's kind of all bets are off here. She's willing to let casualties happen. She's kind of hardened her heart to the circumstance.
No, I could buy that if that was it all set up with her earlier conversation with Littlefinger. Like, if her motivation for all of this was, like, she trusts nobody, like, she is so damaged that she is going to hold all of the cards to her chest, and she can't even trust John, she won't even give him the benefit of the doubt, I could buy that as a strong motivation. But it made it seem like that conversation with Littlefinger, that her whole thing is, like, he planted the seed of doubt in her head because they're not full siblings. She's her.
Yeah, but I don't feel like that. I don't feel like they've made that the point of it. Like, I don't feel like she's ever been like, I want power from you, or like, you're not a Stark. I don't think she's ever made it that argument.
Isn't it kind of interesting how, like, they always compare Sansa to Kat, and the biggest mistake Kat made was loving her children and doing everything for her children, and then Sansa's like, you know what, fuck Rickon, I'm gonna cut my losses and try to
Sansa's
win.
not just Catelyn now. She's Cersei, and she's influenced by Littlefinger. She has all these different things that are...
Yeah, I don't think that's what she did either, though. I think she was just acknowledging that Rickon was beyond their ability.
Oh, yeah. She definitely wasn't like, oh, I don't even care. Like, because earlier that wasn't the way she was acting. I think
I took that more of, like, she's been through the abuse that Ramsay put her through, and, like, that she just has to be a little detached and realize... Like, to get through it, to realize, like, I'm not going to hope because it'll be crushed again, sort of.
I mean, to be fair, Sansa isn't doing anything in terms of Rickon that she's not willing to do herself. I thought, I'm not sure exactly how, I don't have good or bad feelings about the whole, like, I'm not being taken by him alive thing, but she means it. I mean, like, she's like, this battle is do or die for all of us, I think. And this, so I don't think she's holding herself distant from that.
In the isolation of the episode itself, I feel that they were very good about making her consistently pragmatic about everything. It seems like that just is who she is right now. And they never really deviated from that. So at the very least, like, it wasn't random. All right, so do you have anything else to add on this section?
Apparently they have no wood carvers there to get those, like, fancy, army pieces carved up.
Yeah, they're just rocks.
Yeah.
Why didn't
that's for those rich lords.
So I have the full summary of the battle here, but we'll kind of break it down after I get through it. But yeah, I'm gonna read through the whole summary. Here we go. So the armies gathered the next day, with burned and flayed men hanging on Bolton crosses between them. Ramsay brings Rickon out and tells him to run to his brother. Rickon does just that, and Jon rides out to meet him when he sees Ramsay taking aim with a bow. The first 3 shots miss, but Ramsay shoots Rickon through the heart just as Jon reaches him, and the Stark boy collapses to the ground. Jon is horrified and filled with rage. He goes charging alone toward Ramsay and his forces, but his horse is shot down by bowmen before he can reach them. Jon gets to his feet and draws Longclaw and prepares to meet Ramsay's cavalry head-on. Just before they reach him, Jon's forces crashes against the Bolton van, and the battle begins in earnest. Hundreds of Stark and Bolton men die in mere minutes as Jon fights amidst the chaos. The Stark army retreats behind the mounting pile of bodies, but Ramsay takes this opportunity to send his infantry forward to surround the Stark survivors. The phalanx begins to press in as 1-1, and the wildlings try hopelessly to battle free. Small John Umber kills any man trying to flee over the pile of bodies. Panicking, Tormund calls for the wildlings to fall back to the corpse pile. John is nearly trampled by the wildlings, only just breaking free of the press of bodies and gasping for air. Tormund is able to overcome Small John by ripping out his throat, but all hope still seems lost. Suddenly, a horn sounds in the distance, and a large army of Vale Knights appear over the crest of the hill, led by Sansa and Littlefinger, showing they charge and quickly cut down the Bolton infantry from behind. So, yeah, thoughts on the Rickon part first, if there's anything you guys have to say about that?
I feel like I'm curious what everyone's, like, visceral reactions were there, because it felt very visceral to me, and part of me was like, don't run. Like, just don't. Just don't agree to do what Ramsay wants you to do, you know? But then at the same time, it's like, how do you not physically run? And I keep thinking, like, how would you run sideways to, like, I was also thinking zigzag, but, like, how would you run sideways to make a tinier target?
You just back check every time he shoots, and you dart to the side. Like,
Yeah.
Exactly. Ugh.
Well, guys, I think it's not that simple. If you're in that situation, you don't just like, oh, I hear a bow twang, let me look when he shot, and then move. It's not. If you're in that situation with the adrenaline pumping and you're not prepared at all, you're not going to act perfectly.
oh
Yeah,
no,
sure.
but you're running and you're scared as hell because you know he has that bow behind you. Your head is like swiveling back like every half second to check and see what's going on.
Y'all are missing the most important part, though.
Oh boy.
Ramsay has homing arrows.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, obviously.
They're guided by sorcery.
I watched this scene and I said, okay, there's no way he's getting across. I go, oh, I see the bow. I go, okay. I said, don't do this. This is stupid. They're gonna have him run, and then he's gonna. Oh, the last second, it's gonna be a perfect shot and kill him, which is exactly what they did.
Right.
But it was like, way further away than it should have been to be believable.
Yeah,
I mean, he could have
obviously, yeah, it's not believable, but come on, like, it's a TV show, come on. And there's so
At
many
least you
moments in this battle that are just dramatic for the sake of it, not for logic. Like, there's so many moments you can call out that don't make sense, but that's how it works.
Yeah, but like when you're doing something like this, it's supposed to be like the big emotional moment. You can't cheat like that. I think.
Right.
I think you've got a responsibility to be better than that. I mean, to be perfectly honest, they could have just had Ramsay march maybe like a third of the way out and be like, "Come on, John," just taunting him, start a few slices, and then just kill him, and then that maybe like, oh, John's like, okay, we're going now. Like I would have believed that reaction either way. Killing your brother in front of you, like you don't need this whole contrived little arrow thing.
I thought it was going to be like an arrow halfway out and then release the hounds and be like, run.
Yeah.
I actually thought he was going to release his dogs, too.
In retrospect, did you guys think that Ramsay wasn't actually trying for those other
No, obviously not.
arrows, right? He was just fucking with him.
Like the first few, he probably, if he'd shot him like in the leg, or if he was just toying with him, I would have believed those shots. Like that would have made a little more sense to me. And then he's limping and whatever.
Well, as far as the drama and tension of the situation goes, I thought that was pretty smart because normally you assume these things come in threes, right? The first two miss and the third one kills him. That's normally how it goes. But in this one, the third one missed. And for a moment, I thought, is he going to get away because of that kind of typical way
Wait,
drama's handled?
you were counting and assuming because of the numbers he was
Yeah, I mean,
away?
this is how it normally goes. You normally
Yeah, no,
do
it's
this
usually in
threes.
threes.
Yeah.
I agree with Zach. I was counting.
Yeah, me too. And I think like the pacing between the first three arrows made like the kill shot more shocking because it was like, wait a minute, we have like at least like 4 or 5 more seconds before like another arrow like should.
Yeah, well,
land.
and like what was a bit like the only shocking part to me was that I mean I knew the whole time like there's no way he's making it, but it did look like he was about 2 inches from grabbing John's hand, and then all of a sudden he was like 10 feet away again. So I don't know what that was about.
Well, I mean, with the whole logic thing, like, how illogical has the show been? To pick out this one thing as, like, the most illogical thing to happen, I'm kind of critical. Why?
you can be like, oh, whatever, dragons, illogical. Like, you can, like, little things like that, you can just punt. That's fine. But if you're going to do something like this and you want it to be this big moment that makes, oh, John's going to lead into the trap, and it's like it's a huge moment and it's supposed to be hugely emotional. Like I think there's a better standard for that.
I agree.
I don't know. I feel like we're splitting hairs on what counts as logical and what doesn't. Like, why didn't John's army just break out of the maneuver and just escape? Why didn't they run? Why did they just stand there and let themselves get trapped? Why didn't John get
Why
with
did
arrows.
Davos run into that trap?
You're talking about a whole bunch of people that are in the middle of something panicked.
Why did Ramsay stop shooting arrows? Like, he had by far the best advantage. If he just sat there and just
Keep
kept
killing
on
his own
doing
men.
volleys, he would kill everybody.
I
He
think
didn't
because
give
he's just screwing around at that point. He's just having fun.
Yeah.
And also, like, a heavy cavalry charge against, like, a footed soldier is, like, it's just going to decimate them. So he's just like, well, fuck the arrows. We'll just kill them all.
We saw the snowplow when that came through. So when later on when the knights come through and just basically like it's like a snowplow taking out that circle.
Did they really compare that move to Hannibal?
I don't know. I don't know what specifically they were talking about. I mean, the double envelopment was a thing that Hannibal did at the Battle of Cannae. But this isn't really that. This is not that necessarily attacking on both sides. It wouldn't be like a circle around the people who aren't moving.
Also, pretty sure Hannibal has more tactics in his left testicle than Ramsay ever would.
Well, you know what's funny? Like, I mean, in spite
I find
of
it awkward your knowledge of Hannibal's left testicle, but yeah, okay.
I only know about his right one.
yeah.
Oh, I bet you Greg
all I
knows
learned
so
about.
much.
I know, I was
about
thinking-
Greg probably
Greg
knows
knows
both testicles. Yeah.
Jesus.
Count on Greg.
Hashtag Greg
Count on
knows
Greg.
testicles.
The whole thing.
Hashtag he's not even here to defend himself. Come.
That's how we do it.
Thanks for saying that he is smart and knows things.
But as far as the tactics go, I kind of obviously they don't really make sense. I'm not an expert on it, but obviously they don't make sense. I thought they did a decent job justifying it on both sides. John, obviously, it's maybe it's not in his character that he would go running in, but that's the whole his whole plan to fell to pieces when he charged in and he didn't have the trenches on sides and he nullified his own archers. And then Ramsay, like, he thought that he had such a huge advantage that he could do whatever he wanted, so his blunders made sense in that context.
Did Tormund curse like, "Oh fuck, John, why did you do that?" Or was he just "fuck yeah, battle"?
I think fuck yeah, battle. I don't think he was calling him out.
Oh, I did. Oh, this is kind of going back. I loved when Tormund would ask what are trenches and what are the flanks?
No.
Yeah. It's like flanking maneuver. What?
Yeah, it's a pincer maneuver, right?
What did he say to Davos? Did you see these demons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Happy
they're not
shitting.
real demons.
It's a figure of speech.
I love Tormund. In the show, I've grown to love him. It's good.
Yeah. He's like, I'm sorry. I have a very tall woman in my spank bank right now. Everything's
Oh my
clouded."
god. Jesus Christ.
He's distracted.
I wish I liked Tormund, but I can't shake the memory of him going into the Molestown brothel and just slaughtering all those innocent people. I
Right.
can't shake that.
I had actually blocked that out.
Yeah. It's important to remember these things. I'm not sure the show always does.
No, I don't.
What's a few dead brothel
They're
patrons?
small folk, right? They don't matter.
Yeah, who
Yeah,
are
right.
these small folk?
Who are they anyway?
Well, that, I don't know. I feel like that went back to our, to the fandom-wide reaction to Ollie, where I was just, literally can't get the image of, his parents being slaughtered and, the poor kids pressed up against the fen, out of my head, and to me that's just, I feel as traumatized as the kid must feel. So to me, all of his actions were I get you, I understand, I know what you're doing. Whereas, I'm not saying people are wrong because obviously he does terrible things, but to me that was just where I was coming from with that character, and it's kind of colored my feelings about Tormund as well, just remembering that.
As far as just general thoughts on the battle go, as we've said kind of at the beginning, I was fond of the way that it really did express a lot of the chaos. The first moment when the horses crash together was really good. Just the side shot that we get with Jon as they are just mashing into each other and going flying. And the other one I really liked that I'm sure you guys appreciated too was the part where Jon goes to grab that guy's shoulder after he kills the guy that he's fighting, and his head just immediately gets shot in the head. Just the fact that can happen that quickly, and that's how it works. And you don't have these moments of celebration amidst that.
Also, in the middle of the battle, just the random headless guy on a horse just riding by.
I saw that too.
Yeah. And obviously, I think for me, the highlight part, it was extremely brutal, but the part where Jon's obviously being trampled by the wild things and just the sense of suffocation and claustrophobia that you get from that. It was very well communicated.
Yeah, he felt like a hobbit in the Lord of the Rings battles, just gonna get swallowed by.
Yeah, but you knew in those battles good would prevail. Like, this felt like a lot to me like almost seeing Saving Private Ryan for the first time, where like it's just like the absolute like brutality of war.
I had that moment too when I saw a guy crawling without any legs. I was like, "What happened to that dude? They're not using machine guns. How did he lose his leg?"
An explosion of some sort.
Yeah, I don't
know.
There would be absurd injuries. It just didn't make sense that like that level of dismemberment would happen just from people crashing horses into each other.
He ran afoul with Lem Leg Chopper.
See, I thought they had some of the bombs from the bath bombs from the Children of the Forest.
Maybe, or the ones that Ramsay used to set Stannis' camp
Wait
on
a
fire.
second. Were those 20 good men like Children of the Forest gone wrong?
Were we supposed to see, like, it almost looked like Jon was killing people from his own side.
Oh, I had no idea.
There was that one scene when he gets up and he's just real angry after the initial charge, right? And he kills a guy, and then he kills another guy that looked like he was wearing like wildling clothing, I think. Is that what you're saying?
I think,
but at one point everyone's covered in mud.
Right.
So like you really couldn't tell who's who.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
And that's another cool part. Yeah, and I think even if he didn't actually kill someone, I think that part in the beginning where he's just looking around trying to find somebody really showed that, because he doesn't know who to go after, what to do at first.
I don't think we're supposed to know.
Yeah.
Like, I think we were supposed to get it's I guess a little out for them to say like, oh, chaos of war, but like it definitely felt like that to me.
Well, yeah. So the last bit, as we said, the Vale Knights arrive with Littlefinger and Sansa to tear the Boltons apart, and this happened. So if you guys, free for all on what you thought about Sansa's choice to hide this information from Jon and to approach it the way she did.
Despite the whole thing in the beginning, when this happened, I was like, fuck yeah, Sansa came through. It's awesome. They're going to win now. It's going to be great. But I'm still a little iffy on her not saying anything, honestly. In that moment, I was just like, yes, this is great. Go
Well, did it not feel like way too late? And I was just sort of like, fuck you, Littlefinger.
I was so scared that Ramsay was somehow going to win that I was like, where's Littlefinger? Like, where's Littlefinger? And then, like, once he came, I was like, okay, I can hate you again. But, like, before he got there, I was just like, he needs to get here and, like, stop this madness. Because
I was like, once he got back into Winterfell, that's when I was like, what's going to happen?
Yeah. But that smirk on Littlefinger's face when he's, like, sitting on the horse with Sansa, it was just like, oh, God, you're back.
What about the smirk on Sansa's face? Like, just like, I'm saving the day after, like, the whole army gets decimated.
It was kind of smirky. It was.
It didn't look like a satisfied. It looked like kind of like I'm here, and like I was like, is she happy? Those people are all dead. Like, what is going on?
First, she looked pretty solemn, and then she started to smirk. I think once she saw that they were winning.
Right. But like when Jon's like standing on top of the corpse pile and like staring at Sansa, and like she gives like this smirk, like, yeah, I did a good thing.
You're like, see, now I'm here. Yeah, I think that was like for Jon, that look, right?
He wouldn't have had to go. They could have stalled.
Yeah.
For like a few days, a week, anything.
Yeah. 3
he
hours.
would have had
Forest.
to go fight.
Do you guys think so though? Because I, in my head, can literally see Jon going like, like, there's no time. Like, the others are coming. We have to attack. Like, I could see them writing something stupid. I don't have a good explanation exactly for why Sansa didn't tell him. I'm not entirely sure that the show is aware of what a big plot hole it is. Sophie Turner's like mentioned a couple things. It's possible that they'll have it out next week, but I don't know. I don't know that Jon would have waited, for this rich asshole who like has a hard on for Catelyn Stark to come rescue them. Like, I don't know that he would have done that.
That's exactly what they set up, though, right? That was the logic they put in Jon's character, right? That we need to do this now. We need to hurry. We don't have time to gather more men. And maybe he would have still had that mentality if he knew about Littlefinger. But the problem, I think, is the mentality to begin with. Why does he feel that way? What is the urgency? Why does he?
Right.
So.
But that's the problem with Jon's motivation, not Sansa's.
But that's a conversation they should have had if that's where both characters are coming from, and that's my problem with the whole episode is that it could have all, like, it's an idiot plot, because if they had that conversation, the whole plot would not have happened. And it's like, why does Jon have to go up against Ramsay right now when Sansa has an army in the wing? It's because we need a dramatic fight where the Starks are the underdogs and the Arryns can swoop in at the 11th hour and sweep away the Bolton army. Like, they wrote the plot in first and then filled in the character motivations secondary. And it shows. And I think it's showed consistently with their writing more and more all season.
Well, also, to me, it's Jon is fighting because he thinks there isn't more men, even though they don't even fucking try the Manderleys and all of that, and that's just stupid.
Fucking Manderleys.
And especially after, like, they push that it's the Northern House. But I think if you told Jon, oh, by the way, I have an army that will increase the size of that's 200% the size of your army, let's stall for about 6 hours, and then when we can get them, he would be willing to do that. Especially, like, he probably hates Ramsay more, and especially at this point where he thinks Rickon's still alive, he'll be way more willing to compromise and to try to get Rickon back than after But
they don't
Rickon's
know.
dead.
Like, Sansa doesn't know how far away they are. Sansa doesn't even know that they're coming.
She writes to them, though.
Right. She asks him to come, but it's like, if we'd seen Sansa taking, more ravens, or whatever, and it had been like this secret thing that she was really hiding it from them. But I don't think she was confident in it either.
I think the fact that she wrote to them would imply that she had more information, right? Because she couldn't have just sought them out without any knowledge. How would she know where to go?
She not only rode with them, or like to them, she rode in with them, leading them, which implies to me that she knew where they were and she was leading them in triumphantly. So that to me makes it sound like she knew where they were and it was her men and it's her victory.
I just thought it was Littlefinger, like, coming to meet her wherever she was, and like them, because I guess so they're coming from the directions don't make sense, because the Vale Knights would have been coming from the south and the Jon party would have been coming from the north, but like I didn't at all think that it was like Sansa, like, racing out exactly knowing where to meet.
I think it's just as likely that Sansa either did or did not know that Littlefinger was coming or not. I don't think that, like, it's definitely a plot hole, but I don't think that we can just say, like, oh, Sansa was so stupid.
No. The missing puzzle piece is why didn't she tell Jon about Littlefinger? That's the big thing that hasn't been answered. Because if she had told him earlier in the season, then that could have actually been a legitimate conflict between them, where he's eager to go to battle. They don't actually know if this army is coming. She wants him to wait. And then, eventually he prevails and says, screw it, we can't wait, let's just do this thing. And then Littlefinger shows up at the last minute. That could have worked. But the fact that she doesn't tell him is just a big question mark as her motivation.
Because this could have been set up the same way.
I think that would have worked. But I have two reasons why I feel that I can at least justify the why Sansa made this call not to tell Jon. First of all, the one I got into before, the fact that her heart is cold to everything, as exemplified by the whole just let Rickon die thing, and all the comments she makes in this episode essentially seem to suggest that she just wants to win no matter the cost, almost as though she's willing to let all those Northmen die. It doesn't matter to her as long as Ramsay can die and they can get Winterfell, etc. Maybe that's not right for Sansa, but that felt like what they were pushing with her, and it felt justified given the character they had. And the second point is that Ramsay exposed himself by going out there and surrounding them and going to finish them off and thinking that he had the battle won. And maybe that was part of Sansa's motive, is letting that happen so they could be taken out, so that they would be made vulnerable and wouldn't have a defensive position and could easily be swept away by the Vale Knights. Maybe she made that call. Maybe she made that pragmatic sort of Machiavellian move. It's worth the cost. It's worth the loss of life if we can win.
Well, that's the point I was going to make, is that even if she had told him, maybe Jon would have said, well, if he finds out there's this army, he's just going to hide behind the walls and then we can't win. So, like, maybe they still would have needed to have this battle, and maybe it would have gone poorly. but she still should have told him. Like, it still could have been set up the same way, but it's not. Like, I don't really think that should have been her decision to make when, like, she's not even putting her life in risk.
I think that's a good read on it, Zach, and I'll be happy if that's what we find out, is that she's like, look, I couldn't have told you because, like, if you had, because John would have incorporated that into his strategy, and it would have potentially risked Ramsay pulling back
Finding out.
Yeah, and then them having to do a siege, which wouldn't have worked well for them, winter coming and all that. And so for her play, like, taking the risk and saying, okay, I'm going to keep this to myself, let John do what he wants. Hopefully, it'll pull Ramsay out from behind the walls, engage him in battle, and hopefully they'll get here in time to win us a victory. Other words, we're screwed. But yeah, like, I could, if she was thinking that tactically and taking that big of a gamble, I could buy that, and I would actually like that a lot for Sansa, her putting not just like the Winterfell men on the line, but also her relationship with Jon on the line. That would be interesting if they actually pull through with that in the next episode and just like give her that motivation instead of, I don't know, I didn't know if I could really trust you. You are my half brother.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many cases where we've given the showrunners more credit than they necessarily deserve, and they've kind of failed us. I think that was a big thing that happened over and over again in the last episode you guys reviewed. So maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I just want to believe that there was more going on here than Sansa just being petty or whatever.
And also, along with the Ramsay argument, she knows Ramsay better than anyone. She knows Littlefinger better than anyone. I think that's definitely her decision.
Her wording in that letter is not particularly confident. It's beseeching. It's definitely not like, never mind, change my mind, I'll meet you at like this tree. It's definitely
the
not.
North Grove.
It's also not like she really trusts Littlefinger right now. I feel like this was probably a last-minute decision on her part because she doesn't want to get involved with Littlefinger again. He's the guy that left her with Ramsay, who further ruined her life. And I think that Jon shouldn't have had a part in that decision. It's tough, but I don't like it.
The problem, though, I have with the Zach's theory is that was Jon's original plan, was to draw Ramsay out into the middle and, like, essentially force him to push the middle and make him overconfident and then smash him from the side. So even if Sansa said that, Sansa could use that reasoning and Jon would probably agree. Like, he himself was willing to sacrifice some of the men to accomplish that, so I don't think he would be adverse to that strategy. It would just help him to know that, yes, I have X amount of men waiting in the wings, and I can fully commit to this strategy and draw them farther in.
But I think as Sansa expressed in the battle planning scene with Jon, I think she was convinced that Ramsay wouldn't have bought it if it had been Jon that was orchestrating it. Jon had to be duped too for it to work on Ramsay. I think that's what she had in mind. She had to have Ramsay fully believe that he had victory in his hands.
What Sansa keeps saying is like, I don't know what Ramsay's going to do, but I know that he's going to try and trap you. Right? And if you think about it, really it's true that the only real antidote to a trap for Jon, like, not to tip his hand in any sort of way would be...
Is it an anti-trap?
Well, yeah, I mean, he would, to not know, to just have no idea what he was going to do. I'm not saying it was worth the lives of all those men, but I don't...
But are you saying it was essential for them to even be, like, forward like that for Littlefinger's charge to work? I mean...
But I'm saying that Sansa might have thought that.
But so Sansa's saying, you're too stupid to, like, trick Ramsay, but I'm smart enough to trick Ramsay?
With her years of tactical training?
No, I think she's saying that, like, I can't let Ramsay have any idea that there is anything else going on. Because what they have set up for Ramsay is not a trap. It's just an extra, there's no...
It's just reinforcements.
Exactly. There's no brilliant maneuver there. There's no, like, extra force waiting around. Like, they're not shivvying Ramsay's force into any sort of trap.
There's no coordination.
Oh, I think it is a trap.
Right.
It is a trap for sure, because they have to engage one army that's made up of Mormonts, like a couple other northern houses, and wildlings. And while they're doing that, obviously they're about to, like, slaughter them all and then this cavalry comes in.
They overextended, and that's what the Veiled Knights exploited. I don't know if it's right to attribute that kind of tactics to Sansa. Maybe it was something that she planned with Littlefinger or something like that. I don't know, but that's how I'm reading it, is that, she wanted Ramsay to overextend, and that's when the Veiled Knights would strike.
Yeah, I was not getting that at all.
Regardless, I just hope next week they at least address this issue and not just, like,
Doubt
yada,
it.
yada, yada it away.
For me, the only thing that makes sense for why she made this is not some, like, genius tactical idea of she's going to surprise them, they're making some maneuver, because it just doesn't... coordination, none of it makes sense, but it's just I think it's just emotional. Like she can't tell Jon because she can't tell Jon, and that seems to be the only thing that they're telling us.
I am trying to give them more credit here. I'm trying to read it as something more involved and trying to give Sansa more credit, and maybe you guys are right. Maybe it's just that simple, and maybe with the evidence we have in the past, you guys have a better case for it, because they've definitely not given good reasons for things that have happened in the past and justified them and made them reasonable. I get that, but I'm not giving up hope until there's definitive proof that it was just Sansa. I didn't want to tell him. I didn't want to. Anything left on this Sansa discussion? Anyone want to make a final point?
When they tried to show him getting buried by bodies and half-living men, like the claustrophobia of it, like really got to me. It was like extremely effective if that's what they're trying to do.
Did anyone think they were, like, just for a minute, that Jon was actually going to die down there?
I kind of did.
And have to be brought back.
I was kind of hoping, like, I didn't know, like, if he was already dead or, like, because everyone seemed kind of half alive, half dying around him.
He definitely seemed like he was about to be crushed. So
I thought he was going to die.
I mean, I thought they did a brilliant job communicating that tension and that fear, but on a logical, mental level, I never actually thought that Jon was going to die.
Yeah, it took a second to think, because if he dies, this whole plot is basically over, and like if they lose this battle, the whole plot is over.
If Littlefinger kills Jon next week.
That's what I'm kind of worried about, is if somehow Littlefinger either puts him in his place or kills him, and somehow Sansa just is like, oh, yeah, he's got all the men. I'm with him now. You no longer have men.
Was it y'all, or was it A Song of Ice and Fire that said that maybe Littlefinger knows the truth about Jon? Littlefinger's the one that tells Jon about his parentage.
That was Podcast of Ice and Fire, but we get the scene last season with them in the crypts that seems to suggest that he knows more than what he says.
I really hope that doesn't happen.
Anyway, I'm kind of torn about whether I want Sansa to have, like, there to be a motivation for Sansa not to have told Jon, or if, like, it was just poorly written and I just don't want Sansa to, like, have to take the fall again for something else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Because, like, this season she's been pretty good, and
I would like the idea of her being culpable if we'd had more time to experience that and for her to, like, come into her own, but, like, this is all really new. So
my whole thesis again is that she is full Ice Queen Sansa now. She doesn't care about anything or anyone except advancing her own ends, and that's why she made this. I
kind of got that hint, but I guess I haven't wanted to believe that that's what's going on.
I don't think she doesn't care. I just think that nothing that she did suggested to me that, like, she actively, like, is uncaring. It's just that she couldn't afford to care in a lot of these instances.
I kind of think that Sansa's going to kill Littlefinger in the next episode.
I would love that so much.
Well,
I would love that, but she needs those knights.
Yeah, but she can inherit them.
How?
Tell them if it's, like, Ice Queen Littlefinger. I mean, sorry, Sansa. I feel like that could go...
Let's get the fan art.
Wow. Can we get Littlefinger as Elsa? Thank you.
I want you to paint me like one of your King's Landing girls.
I feel like that could go down a very
Christ.
dark road with essentially Sansa becoming the Cersei.
That's what I think is going to happen. And that's the only way it would make sense for me.
Fulfilling
Really?
the Littlefinger fantasy.
And I don't know, like, is that unbelievable, given what's happened to Sansa, that she would go that way? Is that ridiculous?
I think so, because she'd want to be the opposite of Cersei, right?
I feel like we might have finished this. Like, I don't know what, like, she's never been one of the characters that I'm like, oh, she has a big role in the War for the Dawn. It's like, so Jon turns around and goes back to the Wall, probably, and Dolorous is like, oh my god, thank god you're back. And like, what does Sansa do? I like, no one reckons dead, conveniently, so no one's contesting her claim. Does Bran come back and go like, actually, I'm Lord of Winterfell now? Like,
I guess I don't understand why people are resistant to this idea that Sansa would be this pragmatic, because I mean, this is what people got excited about, right? Back in like season 4 with the Maleficent clothes, they're like, oh yeah, avenging angels, evil Sansa, you know, sharp,
but that was
Sansa.
just like she's finally taking control.
But
of her
I think
own
that's
destiny.
what she's doing now, and I think that this is who she is. She's been shaped by all this that's happened to her, and maybe there's some humanity in there that's guiding her somewhat. But I think she'll do what's necessary. That's who she is now.
so she'll do, like, in this conception of Sansa as like, you know, brutal and willing to do anything. Like, what is she doing anything for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't fully understand what her motives are. Maybe it's as simple as gaining power, gaining control, getting revenge on all the people that have hurt her.
Never being a victim again.
Yeah.
I think
What does
never
that
being
mean?
a victim is a good answer.
That's true, but like, what does that mean in the context of?
Yeah, but that's I mean, how far can we go with that in any character? Like, what's the point of Arya now? What's the point?
No,
of
I'm not
Right.
criticizing it. I'm just curious, like, because I can't particularly. I'm not sure.
I mean, I can't conceive of it exactly either. I assume she's going to be part of whatever power struggle there is for King's Landing and ruling there and things like that. I think maybe that's where it will go.
This is where you can get like the divide of you can see the big divide of show Sansa and book Sansa, whereas in the books we know what kind of person Sansa is, but at this point in the show we don't know what she's capable of, or what she's planning, or if she's planning, or what even she could plan. It's just
but I think that Sansa could be down a dark path in the book too. Like, I think we can't just assume that she's going to be like perfect and good going forward.
Yeah, do we know, like, in either show or book? Because like
we get references like when Sansa sees like the way Cersei bosses everyone around through fear. She says to herself, "I'll never rule through fear. I would be a beloved queen."
But
she's like
in the most
she's like 12.
in the most recent Elaine chapter, she's like, "Get this fucking Robert like off of me. Like, he should die." Like, you know, it's completely different. Where she's looking at like, what would actually happen if Sweet Robin died, even though she wants that because she recognizes that he is weak.
Well, who is the Sweet Robin anyway?
Yeah, I don't think Sansa is malevolent now. No, and maybe Tywin is a fair comparison, though I think he is sadistic than what I expect Sansa to be. But yeah, I feel that it's for the most part it's just going to be pragmatic. I need to do this to secure whatever position I'm in. This is the necessary evil. This is the necessary for whatever I'm advancing. I don't think she's evil, but I think that she's letting go of some of the morals that may have been part of her in the past representation.
I have to admit, this is kind of fun though, like thinking back and adding the political element back to Game of Thrones, even though that won't happen.
Yeah, and I think that's always that's always what Sansa's path was going to be. Maybe we're hoping it's a more morally driven thing, but Sansa always was going to be the character that learned to be the political mastermind along the lines of the Littlefinger, or maybe not Cersei, but the player.
There must always be a finger.
The player of the Game of Thrones, right? She is.
Oh boy, there are always two: one master and one apprentice.
She's set to
one
be
pinky and one thumb.
Dude.
Oh my god.
She's set to be
One
a player
middle.
of the game. But yeah, let's go ahead and move. I think we've said our piece on this to the last scene of the episode. Yeah, we have one last scene.
All right. Okay. Jesus.
Yeah. Ramsay retreats to Winterfell, and Sansa watches as Jon, Tormund, and Davos give chase with the wildlings behind them. Ramsay begins preparing his men for a siege, but is interrupted by a slamming sound. 1-1 breaks through the gates of Winterfell, and the wildlings rush in to cut down the remainder of Ramsay's force. 1-1 staggers forward, filled with arrows, and Ramsay finishes the giant with a shot to the eye. Jon approaches Ramsay, blocking his arrow shots with a shield. Before rushing forward to tackle him, he punches Ramsay in the face with the intent to kill, but stops when he sees Sansa watching nearby. The Bolton banners fall, and the direwolf of House Stark hangs on the walls of Winterfell once again. At night, Sansa goes to see Ramsay in his cell. Sansa tells him that everything he has ever done will be forgotten, and she watches as Ramsay's own starved dogs begin tearing him to pieces, and then walks off. A little smile at the end there, if you guys spot it.
Oh. fuck yes.
Did anybody else think that, like, at first Sansa was disappointed in Jon for beating the absolute shit out of Ramsay, and then you're like, oh no, she just wanted to do it herself?
I wasn't sure what her expression meant, actually.
Oh, I never thought she was like upset that he hurt Ramsay. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
For half a second, I thought, like, when Ramsay woke up, he was tied to one of those crosses, like the Bolton crosses, and I was gonna be like, oh.
And then Sansa's
gonna
like,
start flaying him.
And then Sansa's like, if you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Oh my god, that would have been awesome.
I was curious if it was a reference to the books, to like when we saw 1-1 breaking down the gate, specifically Storm of Swords, when there's something about a giant, like the snow castle scene, like a giant.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And the
So the stuffed animal is one?
That's right? Isn't it the toy that Sweet Robin uses to smash the castle, the snow castle, right?
Oh yeah, here it is. I dreamt of a maid at a feast with purple serpents in her hair, venom dripping from their fangs, and later I dreamt that maid again slaying a giant in a castle built of snow.
Yeah, and we assume that it's as simple as the thing in the Vale in the Eyrie, but maybe it's something more. Yeah. But why would she? Well, that's different then, because she wouldn't slay 1-1 here. But...
Yep, you're right.
Ramsay's a maid.
One minor note that I appreciated that I mentioned at the beginning, I really like that there's no music when the Stark banners fall, because it was kind of just a form of catharsis with that. And also, it might even suggest, like, was it worth it, right? Because it's just like, we did this, and it's kind of a hollow victory. It's kind of a victory without fanfare.
No, fuck that. That is a mic drop.
Maybe.
It lost the air.
No, I kind of agree with Zach. I think, like, they may have won Winterfell, but they still have the war beyond the wall coming towards them. So, is it really worth it?
It's open for interpretation.
So what's going to happen next week?
Jamie's going to die. Cersei's going to die.
So we get the obvious.
Who gets paid the most? Let's get rid of them.
we get the obvious allusion to Aerys in the wildfire, and as I predicted in the visions with
Not
Bran.
only that, but he was like told us where they were. Like it's under the Great Sept.
Under the Sept of Baelor, and the visions with Bran. Maybe indeed the future is where the wildfire explosion happened. The Sept of Baelor is going to blow up.
I think the mountain's going to dress up like Guy Fawkes and just...
Oh, nice. Are we even going to see Dorne?
No.
God, no.
No.
Actually.
Ooh.
Well, actually.
Oh.
We're not going to get Dorne, and we're not going to get Arya. Or Sam.
I think we're going to get Arya and Sam. I disagree on both those.
Better not.
I changed my mind. I don't think we're going to get Arya. We might get Sam, and we are getting Dorne.
No.
I'm just curious, like, what is Jamie doing at the Twins? What is going to happen there, other than Red Wedding version 2?
Just that.
Catelyn shows up.
Who would kill them, though? Like, what would be an instigation of violence?
The Brotherhood?
Guess.
All 5 of them are going to come kill all these Freys.
5 good men.
Hey, the Hound is worth apparently like 3.
And it's phrase.
They're not doing anything with Jamie either, so...
I almost feel like Jamie's going to murder them.
I actually feel like it's going to be Arya who's just going to show up back there. I know I just said Arya's not going to be in the episode.
Why?
I don't really think it's going to happen, but I feel like it's just going to be like, surprise, I'm back, and like, crossing names off my list now.
I stick with my theory last week, which is Varys is going to show up and shoot Jamie with a crossbow.
Or maybe Arya shows up and shoots Kevin trying to find Cersei.
Everyone,
That
there's
would make
multiple.
perfect sense. I think Aerys is going to Dorne. I think if he's going anywhere, that's where he's going, actually.
Swear to God.
What if Varys shows up with a crossbow, kills Kevin,
No one
and then
cares about
the
Kevin.
face,
He doesn't matter.
The face comes off, and it's Arya.
Mind blown.
Oh, you figured it out,
And then
Adam.
Varys takes off his face, and it's Gendry.
The fuck?
And it
Oh my God.
Gendry takes off his
That's
face,
it.
and it's Dario.
It's Sirio Pharrell.
It's Syrio.
Do we say to writing good plot? Not today.
Let's end this
That's it.
podcast. We're at a good spot to end it. So yeah, thank you guys very much for joining me for this review. We have one more left. One more DragonCast left for Season 6. Remains to be seen if we're going to continue in Season 7. I'm a little exhausted by Game of Thrones myself, but I don't think I can resist watching, so we'll see.
Which one of us will die next week?
Rejuvenated.
Find out next time on DragonCast. Yeah, so thank you guys very much. Thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back And check us out in all the places that we've made up all throughout the season, all the dumb places that we've come up with. First and foremost, Mock Podcast, WordPress.com, a podcast device and Fire forums, on Twitter, on Facebook, and all the other nonsense. So yeah, happy shitting, everybody.
Tender and grinder.
Happy shitting, everybody. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.